the black man has to take a stand. We ain't gonna get out of this condition. The Bible says, arise, arise, awake, ye men of Zion. Shake yourself from the dust. You used to rule the earth. Now we groveling at some cracker's feet. And if your brother stands up and speaks bold and speaks of war with the enemy, you back off from him and run like a little sissy.
Peace and Black Power. Welcome to another edition of Baba TV, House of Consciousness. Yes, sir. It's my honor and privilege to be in the presence of my mighty big brother, the spiritual warrior right here, my big brother, Blue Pill. I just have one simple question, Blue Pill. What could you do, or word could you give to our people to spiritually prepare ourselves for the next 4 years to come, mentally and spiritually?
A word that I can use is resilience. And what exactly does resilience entail? Resilience entails the necessary preparation. So if spirituality is your thing, then you need to make sure that that is what you're catering to. You know what I'm saying? That you got your altar clean. You know what I mean? That your home is always saged and secured and smudged and whatever you got to do. You feel me? You always have to deal with clarity. Sober up in these next 4 years. This is not the time to be aloof in mind and spirit. You know what I'm saying? You have to be very aware. Your eyes got to be peeled. Your ears got to be open. Because not only do you have to protect you during this particular time, you got to be your brother and your sister's keeper. All right? Because there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be losing their cool. They're going to be losing their mind. It's either coming out of fear, it's coming out of uncertainty, it's coming out of all of these different factors. So we're going to see a lot of things that we might not necessarily be comfortable with. And this is not the period in time where we really drive a wedge between our individualism and our community. Our people are reflections of ourselves. You know what I mean? They're going to try to use the worst images of us and paint that as our picture, not only nationally, but globally as well, for the insistence of why they're being exclusive and you know, and not including us in whatever it is that they're speaking about when they talk about making America great again. All right? So if your thing is, if you're in a religion, then get your prayers up. If you're in a spiritual system, then get your spirituality up. If you a street nigga, then get your street ethics up. You feel me? If you're in the community and you still trying to find your way, then you need to find your way. You need to make some decisions pretty quick. You know what I'm saying? If your thing is economics, then you need to start exploring viable modes of economy where you don't get caught up in this hyper-capitalistic modem and you end up at the end of this 4 years being more European than the European. Trying to keep up with him in this rat race that he's about to go on. Because he's about to go on a global hegemony. He's about to tackle natural resources on a global level. You feel me? Not only lock shit down here, peace. Because, you know, Trump is going to be violating natural preserves. All of these things that have been off limit with oil preserves and all of these things, that's where he's going to start tapping into indigenous lands. He's going to start violating mad different kind of people. For the conscious community also, it's time. The time has finally arrived that you really have to understand that you need allies. You cannot do this on your own. All right? The violations that are about to take place, you're going to need allies. You're going to have to figure this thing out. You feel me? Asada had to have allies. She didn't get on the motherfucking Delta plane and go to Cuba on her own. Everybody that skipped up out of here had allies. Your predecessors had allies. You're going to need some. All right? This is not a marginalized fight or a marginalized, should I say, the things that are approaching or what have you are not just dealing with quote-unquote peace. Black people or people in the conscious community is dealing with a swath of people. You know what I'm saying? Oppression and whatever's coming with this age of the asshole that's upon us. You feel me? It's not something that is just going to be in the face of people that look like us. So oppression is something that's global. There are melanated people throughout the entire diaspora that's dealing with this. There's brown and yellow and black and red and all of these people. You feel me? Even lower class white folk, if we want to talk colors and crayons, even they're dealing with the oppression. You feel me? So more so, like our brother Malik El Shabazz said, this is about human rights. It's a global conflict. You feel me? So we need to start thinking and moving globally in terms of how we're going to overcome the oppressive policies that are going to be amplified, because they've always been here. When we're talking about presidential politics and we're talking about racist presidents, there's always been racist presidents. There's never not. There's been a lull this past 8 years because, of course, we're trained to see Obama for what they're trained to see, right? Somebody that's you're taught to believe that your skin folk is your kinfolk, so you can't even see him as racist. We don't even have the lexicon and our vernacular to say, oh, that brother, you know what I'm saying? We say that he's a coon and we say this and we say that, but he's a president, you know what I'm saying? And he has to enforce presidential policies, domestic and foreign, all right, which deal with advancing the empire at all times. You feel me? He may not have been.
He don't want to hear that, man. He don't want to hear all that, man. All that stuff is just talk, man. You know what I mean? But if it's coming from Blue Pill, it's probably official, man. That's why I fucks with him. You know what I mean? Pardon the profanity, but it's my dude right here.
Like I said, and I want him to concur. Hold on. There's never been a time when we were dealing with presidential politics where presidents weren't racist. They've all been on record. They all got their quotables. Because we've had a lull in the last 8 years where they don't have no quotable from Obama, people are not trained. We don't have it in our lexicon to say, oh, somebody that looks like us might be racist. But he's a president, so him advancing presidential politics, foreign and domestically, is to advance the empire, right? The imperialistic aspects of empire, which unequivocally, right, shit on brown, black, yellow people, red people. You feel me? In the American century, right? Let's look at what they did with the red nations. Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Korea, Japan, China.
Can I chime in on that?
You understand?
2 seconds.
And we're talking about washing these people up, but those people fought back. So we can't hold a candle to them and say, hey, you feel me?
Right back.
Yeah.
I don't want to. Hold on. What you just said was so true, Brother Blue. It brings to mind what Malcolm X said. If you notice, most times when I talk, I don't give my own personal opinion. I usually try to rely on the wisdom of those who came before us. You know, why try to reinvent the wheel? Right. And you remember what Malcolm X said? There's a good book called Malcolm Speaks. Okay. Essays on Afro-American history. And in that book, it quotes, it actually gives a whole passage of one of his speeches. And it was a speech he gave concerning the Bandung Conference. And the Bandung Conference was a conference that was held by all of the formerly colonized and getting ready to be colonized nations that were basically defending themselves against American interest during the mid-60s. And it was a conference where all of the so-called dark-skinned countries of the world came together to determine what they were going to do about colonialism, neo-colonialism, capitalism, so forth and so on. And there were only 2 contingencies that were not invited to this conference. And this is very important. You always remember, those who don't learn from the mistakes of history are doomed to repeat those mistakes. What happened was the 2 contingencies that were not invited to the Bandung Conference were all white nations. Right. No white nation was allowed at this conference. And the only other contingency that was thrown in with the white nations that were not allowed at this conference was, guess who?
America.
No.
United States.
No, come on. That's a white nation. Right. So guess who else was thrown in there? Us, African Americans. Right. We were the only dark contingency not allowed at this conference. And that's what Malcolm was pointing out in his speech. He said every dark nation on the planet was invited. Look it up. The Bandung Conference. Bandung. Bandung. Look up the Bandung Conference and get the book Malcolm Speaks, Essays on Afro-American History. He talks about that conference, and that's very important because all of the dark people of the world were getting together to determine their future and how they were going to defend themselves against white people and against white interest. So let me use that term. We've got to start choosing our language more carefully. They were trying to protect themselves against white interest, European interest, Western interest. And the only two contingencies not invited to this conference were all white nations and black America. Why? Because every time they go to war with America, they got a black soldier in their face with a gun. What did the Viet Cong say to the black people that they met in the jungles in Vietnam? What did they say to us when they encountered us?
They said, we are not your enemy. This white man is over there oppressing you just like they over here trying to oppress us.
They said, brother, the main mantra that they said was, brother, go home. The Viet Cong kept saying that to the black Vietnam soldiers. They kept saying, brother, go home. This is not your war.
So the point that he's making is pretty much what I'm hitting on, and I'm saying that the African, quote unquote African American, is not invited because, first of all, we're not looked upon as a nation, and second of all of these nations that were catching hell, like he said, they always seen us in front of the barrel of the gun, giving these people hell, and they're like, how y'all right next
representatives as white people?
Y'all right next to these people. We in the jungles, in the rice paddies, fighting them. In Philippines, they fought them. In Laos, they fought them. In Cambodia, they fought them. Every fucking body that they ran up on fought them. Even in Latin America, they fought them. Yep. They like, you know who the only niggas who ain't fight them? You niggas. Stop talking about Nat Turner, and that's the last time you could talk about we fought. We riot. We riot.
Riot ain't fighting.
Riot is not fighting. You know what I'm saying? The deposing of shit that white people have, using the opportunity to depose stores of shit that white people have is a poor excuse. That's not fighting. That's a come up. We know the difference. Okay? Divesting yourself totally of anything the white folks have is revolting against the ideals that have you a fucking slave still today. All right?
Can I say one thing before I leave?
Of course.
Before I leave, I just want to say one thing. I'm all about proof and evidence because I do research. And Hotep, this is your brother Shaka Ahmose. Standing here with the God Blue Pill, my family. This is a family member.
Family.
Absolutely. A shout out to Mama Pill. I miss you. Absolutely. We shared, her and myself and a mutual friend shared a wonderful day together a few years ago. But and shout out to my brother Red family. Here's the evidence. Here is the evidence that that as a people we are not serious, right? Here's the evidence that our people are not serious. If our people were serious, we would have used. You're gonna like this part. Ignore that. You're gonna like this part. If our people were serious, we would have used David Dinkins, former mayor of New York City. We would have used David Dinkins as a case study. Why do I say that? Because David Dinkins, in some respects, was the forerunner of Barack Obama. He was the first black to occupy an office of great influence in the most powerful city in the world.
Empire.
Okay, the Empire City, New York City. Why? Because that's where Wall Street is. DC makes policy, but Wall Street makes it happen. Okay? So here's the deal. Dinkins, David Dinkins. What did former mayor of New York City, David Dinkins, do for black people? The people who voted for him and put him in office. Because you got to be out of your mind if you think it was a Jewish constituency or an Italian constituency or an Irish constituency that voted for David Dinkins against whoever he was running against at the time. It was the same way black people came out and voted for Obama in bulk, although white people take credit for it. White people tell you, yeah, Yeah, they used their percentage numbers to take credit for putting Obama in office.
Absolutely.
Although the reality of it, it was either the blacks or the whites. It was a white institution called the electorate.
Right.
Okay? It was the electoral college that put Obama in office twice. Twice. It was white interests that put Obama in office 2 times.
2 times.
Okay? So let's not get it twisted. The popular vote does not determine the president. The electoral college determines the president.
It just shows you that in a
Okay? So let's not have that discussion. But the discussion that is present here now is, why did we not use David Dinkins as a case study in order to determine what our policy was going to be with respect to what we demanded of anyone we put in office, be it at a national level or a local level? Well, it's kind of a contradistinction in terms because, again, I have to reiterate, we did not put Obama in office. However, even if we are going to entertain the illusion that we did, why were we not prepared and ready with a platform that would have prevented another David Dinkins effect? Because for us, that's all Obama was. He was another David Dinkins, just at a national level, at an executive level. That's all he was.
Or Patterson.
Or Patterson. Yeah, absolutely. So we have to, black people, especially black women, you feign over Obama, you drought over Obama because of the symbolism of what he's marketed to you as. And then you look at the next brother and say, well, you're not Obama-like, so you're not good enough. Mm-hmm. You understand? Well, I'm sorry that my grandparents are not Russian. I'm sorry that my stepfather is not Indonesian. Okay? I'm sorry that my political underwriters are not white billionaire leftists. Okay? So, you have to be careful who your litmus test is. You don't let other people choose who your standards are. But again, we were irresponsible. I don't want to digress. We were irresponsible for not having our platform ready. Our bullet points that should have been ready, we did not have them ready. So we have to take responsibility for what we do not get from any president, be it a black one or white one. You understand what I'm saying? Doesn't matter what color it is. Say it again.
We ain't putting nothing in the pot. Don't expect nothing out.
Come over here and say that, but let me give him his credit.
You did not you did not put anything in the pot. Don't expect anything out of the pot.
He did. Thank you. What's your name, brother?
Alan Tracy.
You heard Brother Allen say it. I don't want to take credit. One thing I don't do is I don't what's the word we plagiarize? All right? The brother just said it. Brother Allen Tracy just said, if you don't put anything in the pot, don't expect nothing out of it. Therefore, the name of the game is what? Economics. Economics and finance. Anybody that's not, well, all politics is management of economics and finance. That's all it is. Okay. You understand what I'm saying? So, at the end of the day, and I'm gonna tell you something. If you look at the Asian community, they vote the least, but they control their economics as good as any other community in this country. So it's like Marcus Garvey and Malcolm said, politics is not going to free you. Economics will free anybody. If you can have all the political freedom in the world that you want. You can have a First Amendment right, a Second Amendment right, a 13th Amendment right, all of that. But if you don't have economic freedom, then what do you got? Nothing. You got what Dr. John Henry Clark calls symbolism. That's what you got. That's it. So at the end of the day, we got to be talking economics on every level. If you're talking about religion, talk about religion from an economic perspective. If you're talking about education, talk about it from an economic perspective. If you're talking about marriage, and I shout out to Brother Polite on this one, talk about it from an economic perspective. Whatever it is that you're talking about, talk about it. If it's not centered around an economic focal point, don't have the discussion because it's a waste of your time. It's just really that simple, folks. And I'm going to tell you, by the way, what this whole Trump presidency is about, because apparently most of us don't know. And I just got to put it out there. What people fail to realize is that Russia has its own oil company. I forget the name of it. But this oil company that it has is as big or bigger than ExxonMobil, which is supposed to be the largest corporation on the planet. Okay? What happened was that the head of ExxonMobil, who is now part of Trump's cabinet, he and Putin from Russia They were working on I think it was reported to be a $5 billion deal. But when the actual numbers were crunched, it turned out to be something like $500 billion, $500 billion. They were working on a deal of, in a sense, merging their oil interests. When Russia, they might hit me from the sky for this one. You think I'm joking? When Russia, y'all might want to run right now. When Russia started to bully Ukraine, the Obama administration put sanctions on Russia. Those sanctions hurt the deal. That was going to be the largest business deal in the history of humanity. When the Obama administration put sanctions on the Russian government for interfering with Ukraine and messing around with its borders, it put the sanctions killed the deal. It made the deal impossible. That is the nucleus and the crux, the crucible in which this whole Trump reality was made. So if you didn't know before, now you know. Thanks to your brother Blue Pill, brother Baba, and your brother Shaka Ahmose. Now you know why this whole Trump thing came about. I told you, economics, if you're not asking economic questions, you're never going to get the right answers. You're going to think it has to do with women's rights, black rights, gay rights, this rights, all of these. How can you deal with so many rights and yet be wrong at the same time? Because there's only one right that matters, and that's economic right. End of discussion.
What he said. What he said. All right? Peace, love, and light, y'all. Brother Baba, you got any more questions?
No, that did it for me, brother.
Work it out, Baba.
My daddy smoked dope, so he was a little goddamn J. So I always used to see like him doing little crackhead shit. That's how I knew what crack was. And then, you know what I'm saying, when a nigga got in that grade where like, man, I want the new shoes.
I'm on 100%, 100. Red and blue, purple like Prince. Red and blue, purple the Benz. Change up the circle of friends. The Netheroo circle the twins. 75 ever since. 70 wives in the fence. Red and blue, purple like Prince.
About self-empowerment. So if we're gonna survive in the Matrix, we're not gonna survive in the Matrix by dealing with Agent Smith. We ain't punching his clock.
We feeling the urge, feeling the purge. Buzzers electric, we feeling the surge. Feeling the words, killing the birds with immunity. Pillars of unity. This is the formula of Voltron. This is the age of the Ultron. This is the same stage as the Pope bomb. This is the sage you can smoke on. Copper pound, came on the scene, I was copper down. All I was missing was copper crown. Summer 16, I turned copper brown. Look for revenge in the copper town. Capping New Jersey and copper crown. 21 guns, salute chopper sound. My power pieces, the crystals be talking, the cloth that be talking. King County clothing, yeah, king of New York. And I'm Christopher Walken, the missiles embarking. Pistols be talking, 21 hammers with country, the grammar, the broken, the English. I'm on 100%, 100. Red and blue, purple like Prince. Red and blue, purple the Benz. Change up the circle of friends. The Netheroo circle the twins. 75 ever since. 70 wives in the fence. Red and blue, purple like Prince. 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 Charges of federal, orders incredible. Markers indelible, sparkers immeasurable. Sparking the medical, parkers on pedestal. Sharks for that revenue, hawks for what's edible. Heart full of vegetables, art at the festivals. Heart no cholesterol, sharp on those episodes. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. Go independent like Prince. I'm on 100%. I like when summer begins. I need my hundreds and tens. I need 100%. Hot like when summer begins. Whoa, I'm on 100%. Red and blue, purple like Prince. Red and blue, purple the Benz. Change up the circle of friends. The Netheroo circle the twins. 75 ever since. 70 wives in the Benz. Red and blue, purple like Prince. 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 Red and blue, purple like Prince.